Skyward Sword is the most controversial game I've ever seen. And I don't mean the GTA kind of controversy, I mean the fact there's not really a consensus of whether or not it's actually good. That is the definition of controversy after all, a prolonged public dispute, debate, or contention, disputation concerning a matter of opinion. I think that describes Skyward Sword pretty well. It got a lot of good reviews when it came out. It had a ton of literally perfect scores. Metacritic even said it was a must-play. Yeah, I don't know about that. But they say the true mark of quality is if something can stand the test of time. Remember when Citizen Kane and the Maltese Falcon were nominated for the equivalent of Best Picture at the Academy Awards and lost to How Green Was My Valley? Now what the hell is How Green Was My Valley? I sure don't know. But anyway, the point is that these professional critics are often idiots. Luckily, I'm a complete amateur, so you can trust me. So over time the opinions on Skyward Sword drifted more and more south. And that's probably a good thing, because Nintendo took that fan feedback and used it as a guideline while making Breath of the Wild, another incredibly well-received game, although this one's a little bit more deserving of the praise than Skyward Sword, I feel. Is Skyward Sword good, or is it bad? Today I will be settling the debate. Now you might be asking yourself, what qualifications do I have to do that? Well, I'll be listening to the arguments of the two greatest gamers of our generation, Mike Matei and Aaron Hansen. Mike loved the game and Aaron hated it. So let's hear both sides, and I will be the judge, jury, and executioner. Or just the judge, I guess. First up, we got Mike. He put out a review during the original release. And he didn't even finish the game before making the video, so you know it's good. It's like when he played Splatoon with Big Rye and the Electron Wizard and dismissed it because it wasn't Super Metroid.
Like, when's the last time they made a game as good as Super Metroid? Like, I'm having fun playing this, but this ain't fucking Super Metroid. Not even fucking close.
Watch it, Mikey.
Let's check out Skyward Sword.
I've read a lot of reviews about how Skyward Sword is the same old repetitive thing, that it's like every other Zelda game, and that there's no new innovations, and because of that, the critics don't like it. Well, first off, what did you really expect? If they change the game too much, then guess what? It won't be Zelda anymore.
Excuse me.
Are the critics right in saying that the Zelda franchise isn't making any drastic innovations? Well, I'd say yes. But I think that's a good thing. The Zelda games have a great foundation. If you got a good thing going, don't fuck with it, you know? Zelda is a game for people that like to solve puzzles. In other words, Zelda is for people that like to use their brains. If you want to talk about some games that are truly repetitive, then how about pretty much every first-person shooter out there? Call of Duty, you shoot people. Halo, you shoot people. Gears of War, you shoot people.
So let's sum up Mike's argument. Zelda is for big-brain geniuses because there are puzzles that 8-year-olds can solve, and it's fine that the Zelda series had a formula because FPSs exist. You know, this sort of thesis is going to be hard to beat. So let's see what Aaron has to say. Like Mike, he also had barely played Skyward Sword before he started yelling his opinion of the game. So again, very trustworthy.
Skyward Sword, which I consider to be one of the worst Zeldas, if not the worst Zelda.
Well, did you play the whole thing through?
No.
No?
It's not worth it.
Oh, shit.
It sucks.
He gave his thoughts about Skyward Sword in a video comparing A Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time. You know, two games that aren't Skyward Sword. But anyway, here's what he had to say.
Hey man, I'm mysterious.
God, shut up! Seriously! You want all this attention like you care, like you really gave it your all in a new innovative Zelda experience, but instead you led Zelda into a frustrating monotony. You know, what started the franchise was like the sense of wonder, and what has thus far concluded the franchise is a sense of formality. A predictable, time-consuming mess that asks you not of your sense of adventure, or even your wits, but instead your ability to listen and follow directions. You ask of us our ability to point something at something else and then walk towards it. You ask of us our willingness to get another bow and arrow and find another boss with another giant glowing eyeball. Gee, I wonder how to fucking beat it! I fucking wonder, Skyward Sword! You ask of us to get a cat from the top of a roof and carry him over to some guy who says thank you. The Invention of Link, Cat Delivery Man. Is that your title? What's the tagline of the ads? Cat's out of the bag. And onto the roof. 10 out of 10. No Wiimote motion issues here that could possibly cripple the entire experience. Best in the series. You're like a spoiled rich kid who gets everything bought for you your entire life. And then when it comes to making it on your own, you can't take it. You expect everyone to love you because you are who you are. Part of the illustrious Zelda lineage. Nothing could possibly be wrong with you. You look just like a Zelda. But you're not one. You're a pampered, doughy snob wearing nice clothes, expecting to graduate scot-free because your daddy's an alum. Why would you need to improve? Why would you need to get any better? Everyone just agrees with your shitty ideas because you're a Zelda. Fuck you, Skyward Sword. Fuck you.
Okay, a lot to decompress here. According to Aaron, Skyward Sword is bad because you have to get a cat for someone. You can easily tell what the boss weaknesses are. The motion controls didn't work, which is a valid point. And because it's a Zelda game. Or maybe it wasn't. I wasn't very clear on that. He also had a weird segment on bomb bowling.
Bomb bowl. It added Bombo. Skyward Sword added Bombo.
Yeah, I don't know what he was getting at there. So which one of these two titans of gaming is correct? Is Skyward Sword great, or is it garbage? Well, frankly, I think I should investigate myself. I played the original Wii version years ago, but we have this nice, shiny, new HD version, and it has a lot of supposed quality of life upgrades. And with all these improvements, I guess we don't need the original anymore. Just throw that in the trash. The Wii Motion Plus too. But keep the Wii in case you want to play Link's crossbow training. But anyway, here's the credits of the game. Yes, I wanted to beat the game before I started talking about it. Yes, I know, that's quite a novel concept. And yes, I know Aaron played the whole game on Game Grumps, I'm just taking the piss. Which is a gross phrase, but whatever. Anyway, Skyward Sword. HD even. After playing again, I've come away with my opinion radically unchanged from my first playthrough. It sure is a mixed bag. It's fully deserving of its contentious reputation. I really wanted to cleanly state that either, yeah, this game is great, or yeah, this game sucks. But no, Skyward Sword had to make things complicated. Even with quality of life improvements, such as doubling the frame rate and only giving hints when you yourself ask for them, this game still has a lot of parts that I think are just terrible. But on the flip side, there's also a lot of really great things about the game. For one thing, I really love the story and characters. Although admittedly, I don't think the series really needed an origin story. Wasn't that supposed to be Ocarina of Time anyway? I'm so chronologically confused about the Zelda timeline. But yeah, this game was supposed to be a big love letter to the franchise for the series' 25th anniversary. And wouldn't you know it, it's also the game they put out for the 35th anniversary. Way to go above and beyond, Nintendo. The backstory here is that after the three golden goddesses created the world, they left the lesser goddess Hylia in charge as they left. But there was some guy named Demise who started making trouble in her neighborhood, so she put all the people in one place and thrust the land into the sky. That's how we get Skyloft, the home of Link and Zelda in this game. I'm a bit iffy on Skyloft too, mostly because I don't see how they have a big enough population to prevent inbreeding. The Skyloftians sure don't seem concerned that they're constantly draining their water supply. Do they only eat pumpkins too? There's also these knights whose only job is to prevent people from falling to their deaths if they slip off the landmass, but you can't tell me they have a 100% rescue rate. Skyloft just seems like a poorly thought out solution, Miss Hylia. I know, Nintendo just wanted a cool hub world where you flew around. After all, they already did a big field, another big field, the ocean, another big field. The sky was the next obvious choice. But was it cool? Well, not really. But despite my minor gripes about the basic premise, the rest of the story is executed very well. Link and Zelda are childhood friends in this tale, and they both attend the Knight Academy. Neither of them end up graduating. Also attending the academy is the Chad to end all Chads, the man, the myth, the legend, Groose. He's pretty much the greatest character in the Legend of Zelda history. Or rather, the Legend of Groose history. If you couldn't tell, I love this guy. You know what, I've decided. Skyward Sword is good just because it has Groose. Thanks for watching. Okay, that's a little premature. So while they're flying around, Link watches Zelda get whisked away by a freak tornado. Later that night, he waltzes up to the big Hylia statue in town and meets Fi, the spiritual embodiment of the Goddess Sword, a weapon created by Hylia herself. Her purpose is to aid the chosen hero, aka Link. A lot of people like to give Fi a lot of flack, mostly because she would just solve puzzles for you in the Wii version. I think she's pretty endearing though. Sure, she isn't the greatest Zelda companion, but she's alright. She has a pretty memorable quirk of spouting probabilities for literally everything. And her farewell at the end of the game is pretty sad too. Don't tell me that you didn't tear up just a little bit. My only complaint is that in this HD version, Fi doesn't tell you that your controller batteries are low. This is pure character assassination, and I will not stand for it. There's also Impa, who's also the really old lady that you meet, and you only saw her younger self as a result of time travel shenanigans. The game treats this like a twist, even though it's kind of obvious. And our final big player is Garahim, who's treated as the antagonist for most of the game until it's revealed that he was just Fi's counterpart for the actual antagonist, Demise. He's definitely interesting. The game also has an array of minor characters that I find vaguely memorable, like Petrus here. She's in charge of the item check in the bazaar, and she falls in love with you slowly over time every time you visit her. I broke her goddamn heart. There's also a classmate in the academy called Pippet, who has a strenuous relationship with his mom because she pays Link to clean their house instead of just doing it herself. They have a tight budget, with Pippet even taking a night job as a watchman to supplement their meager income. Oh god, this is getting too real. There's also this absolute loser. What the fuck is his name again? There's also this complete loser Fletch. I think that's his name. There's also this complete and utter virgin named Fledge. God damn it, I hate Fledge. You can't even lift a barrel. Fucking weak-ass hoe. But enough about these literal nobodies. Let's talk more about the two characters with any sort of arc, Zelda and Groose. Not Link though, unless you count how he goes from just being some guy to being the hero of the story. But you can say that about any Link. He's just too much of a blank slate and has no depth to have any sort of impact. But whatever, who cares? Zelda, however, gets to talk, and that enables her to actually have any sort of character. You actually get to see a bit of her journey in the credits. After getting attacked by the weather, she was rescued by Impa, and it's revealed that Zelda is actually the reincarnation of Hylia. She gave up her divinity and was reborn as a mortal, as it allowed her to use the Triforce, something that gods aren't able to use. Except she at no point in the game actually uses the Triforce, but whatever. Zelda has to come to terms with this fact, and has to journey to the past and allow herself to enter stasis in order to keep demise sealed. There's a nice moment between her and Link. At the start of the game, it's established that Link likes to sleep in and Zelda always wakes him up. And here she asks him to finally be the one to wake her up when all's said and done. It's a beautiful scene in my opinion. And then we have Groose. He starts off as a big bully and a direct rival to Link. He's got a crush on Zelda and has a breakdown when she goes missing. At some point he decides to follow Link on one of his trips to the surface. He tells you that your work is done and that he'll take it from there, and that you should go back home. So I did just that, but nothing happened. What the heck? It turns out that you're supposed to follow him. What kind of bad game design is that? It told me to do something that was blatantly wrong. What a cowabunga piece of shit. Anyway, Groose has another breakdown when he realizes that Link is the hero of legend, not him. He is completely insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But eventually he decides that his lack of destiny isn't going to stop him, and he decides to take fate into his own hands. While you're off doing whatever, he constructs this invention called the Groosinator, which is just a catapult on a train track. He helps you fight demise when he breaks free from a seal. Groose is also one of the few characters that you play as in the series besides Link. So yeah, I love Groose. Mostly because I'm the kind of guy that thinks Gaston did nothing wrong. I'm just saying, Groose is rad. Let's talk about the graphics. This game always had this watercolor look to it. I always thought that was cool, especially in the Wii version. In that version, there was this sort of depth of field effect in the distance that made it look like a painting. That's lost here in the HD version though. I guess it just didn't look right at higher resolutions. It also looks like they AI upscaled the textures, which might be the only case where that actually had decent results. I never really liked how upscaling something smears the image, but it's completely suitable for the watercolor look. I also find the dungeons to be pretty standard for the Zelda series, so let's talk about the overworld. It's one of the game's most criticized aspects. There are 3 main areas that you keep revisiting, and only one of them is interesting. I love the Lanayru Desert. What they did here is pretty fascinating. You see, this place was once a flourishing region, but underwent sudden desertification. Its population was a bunch of robots, and their remains are scattered everywhere. This place really gets the imagination going. Why were there robots in the distant past? What caused this dramatic environmental shift? From the robots and ruins lying around, it seems like the desertification came rapidly and without warning. It seems like everyone was just going about their business one day when disaster hit. But an intriguing environment is not the only thing cool about this region. It also has a fun game mechanic. There are these things called time shift stones, and they restore the region to as it was in the distant past. There are a lot of cool puzzles involving shifting time. Also, every time you return to the desert, you actually get to go to new sections and solve new puzzles. Oh my god, my brain is so big! I'm solving puzzles in The Legend of Zelda! Then there's the other 2 areas, Elden Volcano and Faron Woods. They kind of suck. Compared to the desert, they're really bland. And they're pretty emblematic of the issues that plague this game. There's so much filler. I feel like Nintendo was trying to pull a Toby Fox and get as much use out of a limited amount of areas and assets as they possibly could. So for instance, when you return to the desert late in the game, you get to go through that whole new section. But when you go to the woods, they just flooded the main area and you get to play underwater Banjo-Kazooie. It's bad. Then there's the volcano. You get to go through the area again, but in a forced stealth section. I find random stealth sections in non-stealth games kind of annoying. Hey Link, just move out of the way. It's not like anything is actually preventing you from just avoiding enemies, except the fact that the game just decided that you can't. So here's another good example of the filler. So you just got out of the Lanayru mining facility, the 3rd dungeon. What is it going to take to get to the next one, the Ancient Cistern? Well, let's list the steps. First, you need to go to the Sealed Grounds. There, you learn how to play the harp. Then you have to go fight Demise after he breaks his seal. After that, you need to return to Skyloft and ask Headmaster Gapora about the Ballad of the Goddess. Then you need to turn a pair of windmills by blowing on a smaller pinwheel at the bottom, as if that makes any sense. But wait 1 second there, bucko. The second windmill is missing its pinwheel. It fell to the earth below. So you need to go to the scrap shop owner and ask if you can use his grandfather's old robot, which can be used to retrieve things from the surface. But the robot is broken, and you better have picked up an ancient flower from Lanayru in order to fix him. If not, it looks like you're going back to collect one. You then need to go find the pinwheel, which luckily I remembered where it was from my first playthrough. Then you need to go up the tower that the windmills activate and play the harp. This opens up the Thunderhead, so you have to fly in there and arrive at the Isle of Songs. There you solve another high IQ puzzle and learn the song for Rory's Courage. Then you have to travel to Faron Woods, and there you have to enter the Silent Realm. I'm not a fan of these segments. It's like, hey, remember that part of Twilight Princess that no one liked? You know, where you collect the Tears of Light? Why don't we just do that again? Even better, let's have a chance of failure, where you then have to redo everything you just did. Gotta pad out that game length. Anyway, you're rewarded with the ability to swim, which allows you to enter the Great Tree. You have to climb up to the top to talk to this guy named Yerbal, who tells you to look for a certain symbol in the woods, which signifies the path to the next area. So you find the path, swim down a river, go through a cavern, then find Faron the dragon. She needs some sacred water to heal herself, because Garahim attacked her. And unfortunately, Gamer Girl bathwater doesn't count. So then you need to run all the way back to the first dungeon, the Skyview Temple. They relocked one of the doors, so then you have to partially solve the dungeon again, then run to the back of the temple, collect water from a very specific part of the spring, run back to Faron, revive her, and after all that, you can finally enter the Ancient Cistern. The hell kind of pacing is this? This game definitely needed some cutting down. I'd rather have a shorter, better experience than a long slog. But let's get positive again. Another thing that this game excels at is the music. But I guess that goes without saying. It's a Zelda title after all. Even the CDI games had good music. There's a lot of tracks here that I like for normal reasons, like Groose has a pretty memorable theme. Though I think my overall favorite track is the one that plays when you're flying around. It sounds epic. And I mean actually epic. But then there's the more symbolic aspects of some of the pieces. The game's main theme is the Ballad of the Goddess, which is Zelda's lullaby in reverse. And it ties into Zelda being the reincarnation of Hylia, and the fact that in this game you have to wake her up instead of putting her to sleep. It all fits together really well. I love musical storytelling. There's also a part of the game that I can only describe as pure Kino. You're tasked with assembling the Song of the Hero by going to the various dragons around the world and gathering the melodies that they have. After assembling all the individual melodies, the dragons come together to sing the song in unison, and you realize that you were assembling the main Zelda theme all along. Yeah, I'm a sucker for this sort of thing. This is my favorite part of the game, it's so good. Hey, you know what I haven't talked about yet? The main gimmick of the damn game, the motion controls. It's poetic that for a mixed bag game, its main gimmick is also a mixed bag. One-to-one sword control sounds like a great idea, and it is, but its implementation I find sort of iffy. It seems like it's asking for more precision than what I'm capable of. I swear I keep doing the right movements, but it registers wrong. There are also times where I want to get into the right position before swinging, but then the game registers that as a swing. But what I will say, for what it is, I'll give it a pass. I think the problems are more just on me doing things wrong, because I know a lot of people had no problems whatsoever. So swordplay is okay. Aiming though, I think we can all agree is a great use of motion controls. It's superior to stick aiming in every way. And if it were just these two things, I would have called the motion control experiment a success. But we, era Nintendo, made this game, so you know they just drove motion controls into the ground. Here's what you need to use motion controls for. Balancing on a rope, flying, falling with style, performing a final strike and subsequently missing, and also swimming. What? Who is the absolute fucking chode that decided that you need motion controls to swim? Was it you, Miyamoto? Was Wii Music not good enough for you? Did you have to ruin this too? If Miyamoto is your real name, then why are you credited as Miyahone in the original Legend of Zelda? What are you hiding? You're allegedly Bowser Jr.'s mother as well as Mario and Luigi's father. What kind of fucked up family is this? You're like an alum from some university. Pikmin? What are you, encouraging kids to pick their nose? You said a delayed game would eventually be good. But did you even play Duke Nukem Forever? I don't think so. And we're all supposed to worship this guy despite his numerous screw-ups. Everyone just agrees with his shitty ideas because he created Zelda. But not our Miyamoto. Couldn't be precious Miyamoto, stealing them blind. And he gets to be a game designer? What a sick joke. I should have stopped him when I had the chance. And you have to stop him.
Der Mann ist scheiße. Dieser Mann fickt heute erst das Leben.
Fuck you, Miyamoto. Fuck you. Anyway, the motion controls could have been great if they didn't feel the need to justify the Wii controller's existence. Swordplay and aiming. That's all you need. Not this crap. And I know you can turn it off and have everything be done on the stick, but that seems like missing the point to me. This is Skyward Sword. The main selling point is the sword. It's in the title. Also, this game has stamina. All I gotta say about that is that the stamina gauge looks like the LimeWire logo. So what are my final thoughts? Well, with good characters, good story, good music, and an appealing cartoonish art style, this would make for a really good animated film. But the problem is, it's a game. I think today people are looking at this game a lot more fondly, which I think is great. But remember, there's a reason why this game is so contentious. Because while it has a lot of highs, it has an equal amount of lows. And if you're like me, the story and characters can redeem it all for you. When I think of Skyward Sword, I'm thinking of Groose, I'm thinking of Zelda putting herself in stasis, I'm thinking of Garahim, and these are all great elements in my mind. But then I also remember swimming around a giant tree collecting tadpoles for half an hour. So yeah, not what I would call a great game, but yeah, I'd say it's good. My previous ruling stands. But of course, that doesn't mean it's for everyone. Because while the positives outweigh the negatives for me, for someone like Aaron, the reverse is true. But if there's one thing that everyone can agree on, it's that Hyrule should have been called Grooseland this whole time. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, consider hitting the like button or leaving a comment, or even subscribing. It would help me out and it would help you out. If not, just your viewership is appreciated. Thanks and have a good day.